Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And this is the last episode we're doing before Halloween. So, Chris, have you finally watched Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
I did. I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast. Did we talk about it on
We touched upon...
talked about how I had never seen it all the way through.
Yeah.
I saw on one of my many social media that it was the 30th anniversary or whatever year it is for the release, on Tuesday. I think it was. And I was like, you know what? Fine. That's an omen. I'm going to download it and I'm going to watch it. And I got to say, I totally understand why everyone hates it, because I think that it was a terrible movie.
Just overall, was there any specific points of contention?
Yeah, I had no problem that it wasn't a Mike Myers movie. I was like, whatever. I understood that. I knew that going into it, that it wasn't going to be Mike Myers. I have no quarrels with that. It really didn't make sense to me. And
robots and it was almost like this techno threat.
I like the way that our friend Kenneth put it. He called them technomancers, because they're kind of witches.
Yeah,
and they're using technology.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenneth, if you ever start listening to the show, shout out to you.
Shout it out loud.
Yeah, Kiss style. But it just the character.
Rock and roll.
God damn it.
Yeah, but so how cool is the poster though?
The poster is
the best part.
Yeah,
I like the theme too. The more electronic themes that they've got going on.
Yeah, and then fucking 8 more days of Halloween or Halloween. 8 more days till Halloween.
Silver Shamrock.
That was fucking annoying.
You hear it 5 times over the course of the movie.
And the entire time I kept remembering this thing that my parents used to sing every once in a while back when they, referencing back when they used to live in, oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on it.
Haydenville?
No, the Japanese army base.
In Okinawa?
Okinawa, yeah.
Okay.
Both my parents were various forms of military brat. Or, 2, I guess, 1 each. But well, they might have both been. Not that it matters. It doesn't matter at all what
detail.
they were. Yeah. They were both military brats, and they both spent time in Okinawa. My dad likes to joke that his first language was Japanese because he was there at such a young age. But he was like, while we were there, we learned some Japanese. And I think both of them learned this song that goes to the same tune. That's
London Bridge is falling down.
Yeah. That's basically teaches you how to answer the phone. And it's moshi moshi anone, 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 moshi moshi anone, aso desu ka, which is pretty much the only Japanese that I know to this day. But moshi moshi is how you say hello specifically on the phone, which is kind of throwback to the old days when you would use phone operators who would connect you, and you would be like, hey, I'm here, are you listening? And I'm pretty sure that's almost exactly what it translates to in English. It's, hello, I am here, are you listening?
Is it me you're waiting for?
Yes.
Jotoda.
Sure.
That's Japanese for impressive. And Jake, you're on a bit of a horror binge.
Yeah.
So after we shit on the Friday the 13th movies 2 weeks ago...
Well, I was inspired. To make a movie about a guy who gets turned into a walrus. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong... I still haven't seen that yet.
Wrong podcast.
Neither of us.
Yeah. But I do like that he was inspired to do that.
What is it,
Good for you, Kevin. Good for you, Kevin Smith. I'm proud of you. But, no, I decided I was going to... Yes, we did shit on the Friday the 13th series. And I think we can all agree that, Jason's a cool character. I think we all agreed on that. He
certainly
looks cool.
Iconic, yeah.
Yeah, he's got some great death, he does, some great death scenes throughout the series. But I was like, you know what? It's been a long time since I've watched all of the Jason movies, and some of them only once, and I wasn't even paying attention to. It was just kind of on in college or whatever. So I decided I'm going to watch.
We've all been there in college.
Oh, totally. And I'm going to go and watch all of the Jason movies, which is a lot. And I'm going to have them all fresh, and hopefully have a couple knocked out each time we do this podcast. I only rewatched part 1 because I just started last night. To try to see, is there really any good Friday the 13th movies? Because it's hard to believe that there isn't. Although watching part 1 again, it's kind of becoming clear that I think we might. I was like, I'm in for a terrible ride because I think you were saying, Sam, part 1 does feel like a
Grindhouse
picture. I mean, it's 1980,
Real low
so
budget,
we're coming on what 34 years ago that the first Friday movie came out. The best part of it, the two parts, is the effects. Tom Savini. Great effects in the movie. There's some really, really stuff that still looks good today.
Thomas Savini was also the makeup artist for Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead.
That's what got him the job on this. And so the effects I will give for part 1 because that's the one I just watched, obviously. But very, very cool effects. Especially everyone always calls back to the arrow through the throat, Kevin Bacon. Also the axe to the face is another classic. But
classic. Crowd pleasing, family friendly. Axe to the face. Continue.
And even the movies themselves do throwbacks. Like I know that they've done Axe to the Face a couple times.
Oh, there's a lot of reoccurring stuff. Yeah, because some of the movies are more fresh to my mind because I've watched them or they stuck out more. But part 1, and I know I kind of was the champion for that's got to be, it has to, and it wasn't like I was like it definitely is, it has to be, but I was like that has to be the classic of them because 1, it's the first one and people usually the first in a series is usually seen as the classic. It's the oldest, duh, but also the ending though still holds up. The ending is still is great, even though everyone knows, what's going to happen when Jason, jumps out and the shock scare at the end. Although that was it. That was the original intention. That was the end of the series. There was supposed to be no ongoing Jason thing. And of course, as we know, that wasn't the case. But yeah, part 1 still really rough to get through. I mean, there's the earnest part of like just young actors and filmmakers and trying to make this new kind of slasher horror film, but it's definitely dated at times, and it's just, I don't know, it's really, it's not a long movie either. It's just rough to get through. So I don't know why I started doing this, but I'm doing it for you guys and
for the listener,
for the listeners.
I was about to say, I already know how much they suck.
Yeah, but I mean, just to watch them all. I mean, but have you ever watched them all like back to back?
Yes,
to back.
Have
you?
I haven't. But
yeah,
I did that back when I was working at Blockbuster.
Oh, really?
With Chad. When we would debate like. Right around the time that Freddy vs. Jason came out, and we would debate who was cooler, Freddy or Jason. I realized that I hadn't seen all of either of them, so I watched both franchises back to back to back, and it took me like a month to do both franchises.
It's funny. They did. I did when I was after watching the first one last night. A lot of people have on YouTube done like the top 10 Jason kills, so I just watched the first 2. Most of the kills are on there the same. The number one kill was from the remake, where the girl's under the dock and she can see Jason up top, and he sticks the machete through in the head and lifts her up. You see her boobs, and then drops her back down again. And the guy's was like, number 1 is this, boobs for the win. Like that was his. Just it was dumb. And then
typical.
Yeah, it was you. It was Chris Nolan who posted it.
Yeah.
And this the other number 1 was. Oh Christ! What the hell was it? It surprisingly, it wasn't. None of the top 10. So we're talking about 20 altogether kills.
Yeah.
None of them had the sleeping bag.
Did any of them have the boxer getting his head punched
off?
off?
I'm sorry. Yes, that was the second. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Thank you. The second list that I watched, number 1 was from Jason Takes Manhattan, where the boxer is punching Jason repeatedly in the face over and over again, and he goes, I think the line is something like, "Take your best shot, motherfucker," and then he punches his head off, and we were wrong. He punches his head off into a dumpster. For some reason, I always thought it landed on a car.
I thought it landed like on an Oldsmobile.
Yeah, but it rolls down and lands in a dumpster, and then the lid closes. So yeah, and then the lid closes. I don't know, but yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. Grade wise, I don't know. I'll give nobody asked. Someone was like, "What grade would you give?" I don't know. Grade wise, I'd give it part 1, C+.
Nobody cares.
Yeah,
a C+. That's generous.
Well, I have to. We're doing a curve here. It's the Friday the 13th.
To be fair, it's the best and worst movie so far. Because
to be fair, yes, and
set the standard.
And honestly, if you go by like reviews and stuff, and just like IMDb, it just goes down and down and down and down. But I know we were talking a little about it, Sam, last night.
Yeah.
I enjoy the remake the most. I mean, really, still in the back of my mind, the remake has and the guy who plays Jason, I think I'm blanking on his name. I don't know if it was Ken, something stuntman. Really, he seems like a really nice guy. I saw an interview with him, and he's favorite horror icon growing up was Jason, so it was a real trip for him to play it. He's got a real brutal strength to him, real quick. There's a lot of just real quick movements, and they purposely said that he's made as more as a survivalist and someone if you encroach on his territory, then he's going to get you. And some people some people didn't like, but I liked it. So, we'll see how it goes.
Now, Chris, I think you and I agree that our mutual favorite's Jason X?
Yeah. Because all of them are bad movies.
Yes.
Arguably, subjectively, all of them are bad movies. And that one is the one that takes itself probably the least seriously and therefore is the most fun.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It knows exactly what it is.
Yeah. It has my two favorite kills in the entire series. And I think we talked about this as well, the liquid nitrogen and the holodeck, sleeping bag.
Yeah, those two, yeah.
Yeah, those are those are literally my two favorite kills in the entire series.
A little behind the scenes information. The big reason they made Jason X, originally when, Jason Goes to Hell the final Friday, it very clearly tees up Freddy vs. Jason. You know, with Freddy, bringing Jason's mask back down to hell and laughing afterwards. There was such a delay between the production of Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy vs. Jason. They were like, fuck it. We need to make a movie to remind people that Jason Voorhees is a thing.
Especially since the way that Freddy vs. Jason starts, it kind of does pick up almost you could argue that it's a direct sequel because it shows Jason's body reforming in the woods. And I can understand them wanting to do another Friday movie between making Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy vs. Jason, and not being so worried about making another Freddy movie to kind of help people remember who Freddy is, just because that movie, Freddy vs. Jason, was so Freddy centric, in general. It feels like it's kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street featuring Jason Voorhees, if you think about it storyline wise, because what's her name, the main character, is basically Nancy, and even a lot of throwbacks and homages to the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I mean they're fighting in Freddy's hometown, though they do take the fight to Camp Crystal Lake.
Pretty awesome. Also, in the first one, obviously Jason's mother is the killer.
What?
It is clear. It is no such thing. It is it is clear that the killer, up until the reveal that it's her, is a man. It is clear, just by the feet, the legs, the way the person's standing, and it is. All the shots before the reveal are played by a man, to throw you off, and rightfully so, because it's clearly a man. And then reveals it's Jason's mother and all that good stuff.
Sweet, sweet old woman.
Well, the big reason that what's her name that took the role, wasn't she getting I'm gonna remember this in a second because I'm awesome. Betsy Palmer.
Yeah.
The big reason that Betsy Palmer,
good callback.
Yeah, was cast as
You're so smart, Sam.
I know. I surprised myself. It's almost like I have technology at my fingertips.
Yeah.
Don't lift the veil.
Yeah. Because that was right out of my mind.
If we ever make T-shirts, mine's gonna just be me, in a cartoon, angry face, look, and the word bubble, "Don't lift the veil" over me.
Mine's gonna be Rick Moranis, but Moranis is gonna be more hyphen anus.
It's barely a catchphrase of yours.
I know. I just like that word and that image.
And then there's gonna be a variant of it that's gonna be Key Anus Reeves.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Twin Peaks. And we all know what the Twin Peaks would be. The big reason Betsy Palmer, didn't she get paid $1,000 for
I think it was $1,000 for 10 days of work, and the only reason she took
$1,000
it
a day.
Yeah, for $1,000 a day, for 10 days.
For some reason, her 10 minutes on film took 10 days.
She was the star, man. She was the freaking Sir Alec Guinness of the first Friday movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she supposedly just needed a new car. It's the only reason she took the role. So
the only reason that Michael Caine did Jaws: The Revenge was to pay for a new vacation house.
Well, I remember
still hasn't seen it.
Well, the famous line is, "Have you seen Jaws 4?" And he goes, "No, but I saw the house it bought me."
Yeah,
that's
I love that
fantastic.
line.
Yeah. I love his.
That's the first DVD I ever bought. was Jaws for the Revenge. Yep, because they were releasing the 20 or 25th anniversary, maybe probably 25th anniversary of Jaws on DVD like in a week or two. And I was at Best Buy and they had Jaws the Revenge. I was like, let's do it. Like I love Jaws. I love them all.
Do you love Jaws the Revenge?
Jaws the Revenge is so, that's a Wild Wild West movie for me. That's it's not a movie that I'm like, I gotta watch. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's so ridiculous. Like the end of the movie, they kill Jaws like they kill Ursula and the Little Mermaid. Basically, they just stab him with the front of the ship.
He explodes.
Yeah. I remember because that's the movie where Jaws starts picking off Brody's family.
Yeah,
like,
he actually hunts them down.
Like here's something fucked. Like, the little kid in the first Jaws who's sitting there, like, sobbing and crying, making the sandcastle because the brother is, like, off, whatever. That little kid who's sobbing and crying is the kid who gets eaten in the beginning of Jaws for the Revenge. He's a grown man, but I hope that, I think that's right. Because there's the two brothers. And then Chief Brody in the character had died between the
Revenge.
2 in the Revenge because he was not in 3.
Yeah, 3 is Dennis Quaid as his son.
Yeah.
Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D, which is equally insane.
That's
totally.
The first Jaws movie I think I ever saw was Jaws 3D.
Man, I can't imagine what watching the first Jaws was like then. You're like, holy, this is it's already genius, but holy crap.
Where's the shark?
Yeah, but
for a shark attack movie, there's no shark in this movie.
Yeah. Kind of like my big complaint against the new Godzilla.
Yeah. I love revisiting the first Jaws though. That going back to like scares because it's like Halloween and stuff. There's all the big famous scares in Jaws that like are scary and freaky. The beginning of the movie where the
skin bather,
is eaten. Is always usually at the top of a lot of like AFI lists or scariest moments in film. Also because a lot of her screams are real because like the harness is pulling on her.
It actually was hurting her.
It was actually hurting her. And like how it goes from just the silence afterwards. There's no like blood and guts. You don't see it like eating her. The imagination goes wild.
Yeah.
The scene the scene that freaks me out because when like you run up the stairs as a kid in the dark or maybe still nowadays me when you're running up the stairs and you feel like there's something behind you. There's a scene in Jaws.
I live with Jake. I know.
All right, can I say? There's it's actually the scene I was calling back where I can't remember their names unfortunately, but the little kid is crying for his brother who's in like the little alcove kind of bay area and
the inlet.
Jaws has knocked over their boat and they're in the water and the kid goes, "Hey, you guys right over there!" Like he's like swimming over and he falls out. And as he's trying to get back into his boat, you see Jaws' face for the first time. It's not when he's like, "Come out here and show me some of this shit." It's and then you see the shadow and a brief image of the shark rising up about to eat this guy, and you just get that feeling when you watch it of like something's chasing after you, like it's in there, but like you can't get out in time, like you're just about to make it, and then you see his foot, his like eaten his leg fall, hit the ground. And then also that was the first movie I ever saw where like blood spurts out of somebody's mouth when Robert Shaw is killed and he's screaming. And I saw on the blooper reel, he's like, he like strained himself because he had to keep doing that scream over and over again. And there's one point when he's like, "Rah!" and like the blood spurts out and goes right in his eye. He's like, "Oh!" And he just kind of like falls back, like, "Damn it!" Like
resigned to his. I gotta shoot this again.
Yeah. Jeez.
Prep. But
now I know how all those ladies feel.
The big reason that
why blood?
Yeah, jeez, Chris, your fetishes are becoming increasingly specific. The big reason that they hold off on showing Jaws is because they had so much trouble with the robot.
Bruce.
Bruce. But
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. Don't let me down. But and they let Spielberg down quite often.
Why I named it Bruce?
Why?
After his lawyer. And then that's when they named the shark Bruce in Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah. The Great White Shark, voiced by Eric Bana.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Fuck. I feel like I knew that, but I didn't.
Now you know.
Sweet.
But I think the biggest scare for me in the first Jaws isn't actually directly shark related. It's when they find the head in the ship.
That scene is like a jolt, and it's one of those scenes, kind of like with the penguin biting the guy's nose and returns for you.
Sure.
Like it's I know it's there. I've seen the movie so many times, but I immediately turn back into that kid watching it for the first time, and I can't escape that like couple seconds of just terror every single time.
Yeah.
And I know, like speaking of Kevin Smith again, like he always I think calls back to that scene a lot. Because Jaws is like if not his favorite movie,
He
one of his favorite
names the
movies.
main characters of Mallrats off of
That's right,
Jaws.
yeah.
Quentin T.S. Quint,
Mhm.
who's two different characters, and Brody.
Mhm.
Yeah, which was always a nice little nod. And it's like, did you ever play the Jaws video game that came out in like 2000?
The Xbox one
Yeah.
where you're just eating people.
Where you're just Jaws?
No, I saw the James Angry. I don't know if it's I don't think it was an Angry Video Game Nerd review. I think it was just a normal James Rolfe review. But like, yeah, you just eat people. You just go crazy. So yes,
Feeding frenzy.
Yeah, I almost bought it. I'm sure you can get it on eBay for like a couple bucks.
Super cheap at this point. It wasn't
Yeah.
like it was a huge collector's item.
No.
It wasn't like a limited edition, like for all you Jaws enthusiasts that happen to have an Xbox.
Yeah,
Very.
I do. have an
Oh, wow,
Xbox and I am a
jeez.
Jaws enthusiast.
Let me rub my chin in glee as in anticipation.
Yes,
But,
yes.
Now, you mentioned spoilers earlier when you were talking about Pam Voorhees. Chris, you more than maybe anybody else I know, like fucking hate spoilers.
I do.
We're gonna
I
let Chris
can't
rap
stand
here for
them.
a bit.
Yeah. No. Well, I just have a huge issue with people, especially nowadays, with like the obsession with like knowing every detail of stuff, movies and TV shows and whatnot before they come out. And I think the bulk of it is like the writer in me, because I am, kind of a writer. I like to write things. And specifically, like I want to write, for movies and TV, and the idea that like you're going to see a movie to experience this story, like why would you not want to have all of that experience at the theater? Like why would you want to know, that it's Mrs. Voorhees is the killer, like before you go to see Friday the 13th, like that ruins the entire movie for it, because that's something that you learn at the end, but like even things earlier, like not just like plot twists and stuff like that, like or rather like twist endings.
Well, I remember like once I had seen the movie Looper before you did, and I mentioned that it had the most brilliant use of a Chekhov's gun, and you got annoyed. You're like, well, now I'm going to keep my eye out for a Chekhov gun. And I was like, I haven't even. You don't.
That that too. Like I don't even want to know that there's like a twist ending. Like because I have that kind of hyperactive brain. Probably again because I'm a writer. Like now I won't be able to enjoy the movie. I'm going to be sitting there trying to figure out what the big twist ending of Sixth Sense is. Which by the way, I think that's actually where this all came from, because I saw the movie. I saw the Sixth Sense late. Like it had been out for a month or so, and people were being respectful and not like being like, "Oh my God, Bruce Willis was dead the entire time." But like but everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's got the biggest twist ending ever." Like mind blown. It was ridiculous. And then like I'm like, well, great. Now I'm just gonna be sitting there watching, like looking for clues, And that movie is not set up in a way that you're, like the way that the story is written, you're not going, this is a mystery. I'm not supposed to be looking for clues while I'm watching this movie. I'm supposed to be just enjoying the movie, watching this relationship between a young boy and this like psychologist or whatever the fuck he was. Sorry, I don't remember the details because the movie was ruined for me.
Yeah,
and
was.
halfway through
by one of his patients.
Yeah, sure. Halfway through the movie, I'm like, oh, he's dead, because like he, no one's interacting with him except for the little boy. He, smacks this window and cracks the glass, and he's like standing right there, and no one knows that it's him. Like I figured it out, and now I'm just sitting there like, well, what else does this movie have to offer me?
Just playing the waiting game.
Yeah, which oddly enough, not a whole lot.
I honestly, The Sixth Sense isn't Shyamalan's best film.
No, Unbreakable.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
You're a You're a Signs guy.
Well, no, Signs is my favorite. I mean, Unbreakable is, a great movie.
You just
I
like it
Signs
because of Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I like War of the Worlds too.
Yeah.
So.
Which is Spielberg.
I know, but like it's basically War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie.
My favorite M. Night Shyamalan film is probably Lawrence of Arabia. I think he captures the landscape.
I feel like it. I changed my mind. It was Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. That's my favorite Shyamalan.
Staying Alive, starring John Travolta.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's Halloween.
I like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That's my favorite one. Or Rhinestone.
Actually, interesting thing about Staying Alive, Stallone's directorial debut.
Right.
And
right.
he is still alive.
He is. They both are, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of surprised he hasn't worked with Travolta since, if you think about it. Maybe they didn't have a good time.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
No Expendables 4 for John Travolta.
No.
But yeah. But
like I don't know. Like even like I was watching an interview with James Cameron, like to explain maybe a little bit of like like the negative parts of spoilers and stuff like that. So as pretty much everyone's seen Terminator and Terminator 2, who cares about the others? But so in the first Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger's the bad guy, and James Cameron was very adamant about keeping it a secret that Arnold was the good guy in Terminator 2. And if you watch the first 15, 20 minutes of that movie before it's revealed that Arnold is the good guy, like you're not sure. He
just shows up at the biker bar.
Yeah.
And
Your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Yeah. And he's pretty forceful in there. Granted,
Yeah.
he's dealing with forceful guys. But
Yeah. But yeah, he might as well be the bad guy for the first bit because it's very similar to his introduction in the first movie, and it's not until he meets up with John Carter, and even then, like it's not until he like shoots T-1000
in the arcade.
Yeah, that you start to realize, wait a minute, he's not trying to kill John.
Yeah, the Connor family could be double fucked. In fact, Linda Hamilton really sells it when she first sees him in the asylum.
Yeah, and like that's a huge thing. And he kept it out of the marketing. He kept it out of all kinds of stuff. But then at like the press screening, during like an interview, and I think it was like live on the air and stuff like that, so like no editing could be done. Somebody asks him, I think someone asks Arnold, so what was it like being the good guy in this movie? Movie still wasn't going to come out for like another week or couple weeks or something like that, and like James Cameron has a visible, what the fuck kind of reaction,
Like he is not pleased.
Yeah, because that ruins the opening of the movie. That ruins kind of like the ride that you're taking the audience with.
Yeah.
Granted, the rest of the movie didn't suffer, but like it's still like an annoyance. Like that's something that I would want to be surprised about.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I would want to find out within the realm. I'm not gonna yell at someone for like not putting spoiler alert. Because usually my argument is like if it happens within the first act, you don't have to give a spoiler alert because it doesn't necessarily ruin the movie, but it still kind of messes with the experience. Like if you told me that like in Executive Decision that Steven Seagal dies within the first,
we already blew that one last episode.
But like when it came out, like that's beyond the statute of limitations.
How many Steven Seagal fans do you think were sitting in the theater and were pissed?
Right? Or Drew Barrymore fans at the beginning of Scream. I think I brought that up too.
Yeah.
Like, I
Cranston fans and Godzilla.
Sure,
that's right.
Yeah, all things that we talked about last week.
Yeah,
but like there is I will put a statute of limitations on a spoiler alert. Like actually, like requesting that someone use spoilers, but Cranston isn't in most of Godzilla. Like. Actually, I just broke the rule that I was about to say. Although I did say spoilers.
Well, one thing I want to say, and this is the third time I've mentioned Kevin Smith on this podcast. He is insanely good with warning about spoilers on his podcast.
Yeah.
Like, not only does he go pause or spoiler podcast, he goes spoilers. 3, 2, 1. All right, if you're listening any longer, it's your own fucking fault. Blah. And he says, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. What's your thing about like social media is a big thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I know,
Well, here, real quick, let me just finish the point.
Yeah,
that
sure.
I do say like once it's like past a year, you don't need to be like, hey, spoiler alert, but Cranston dies.
Like if it's out on DVD.
Yeah.
For like a week.
Yeah. Then I'm usually okay. Like I personally, I still get like, man, I didn't want to know that, but I'm not going to be like, you're a fucking dick. You're a piece of shit. Now, granted, if it's still in theaters, I will call you a piece of shit. There was a guy when that I was working with up in New York when what was that? The Joss Whedon Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
When that came out, he went and saw it Thursday night, midnight premiere. Friday morning. There, the next day at work. So therefore, only the people that saw it at the midnight premiere know anything. He's fucking talking about everything, and he's like, man, and it was so cool when the stoner guy came back at the end, and he wasn't, you thought he was dead, but he's not. And right there, I was like, fuck you. You're a piece of fucking shit. Now I can't watch that movie for months because I don't want that spoiled for me. And you know what? I didn't watch it for months. Watched it, sat down and watched it, completely forgot that he had said anything about it. And then 2 seconds before that fucking stoner guy comes back, I'm like, oh, right, he comes back. Fuck him.
Yeah, I mean, I try to, when it comes to a lot of the spoilers, I'll certainly, I'll look for like casting news, and I'll definitely, if it's in promotional materials, that's the studio itself. That being said, sometimes studios will kind of go against directors' wishes and like,
yeah, like I haven't watched any of that the Star Wars stuff. All the stuff that's being quote unquote leaked about Star Wars. Like I'm pretty sure it's not actually. Well, I don't know. Like the one that's like, I have
all
a
the
private
concept art.
Yeah, I don't like looking at concept art. And I feel bad because I sent that concept Stormtrooper art to Kevin.
Are the number one Stormtrooper fan?
Yeah, because I didn't even.
He's a guy. To our listeners, Kevin's a guy that we know that he watched the original Star Wars trilogy, and his big takeaway was the Empire were the good guys. And I'm not exaggerating.
And he became a 501st Legionnaire.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
which boggles the mind, but teach their own.
But yeah, I do feel bad because I sent him I saw the Stormtrooper thing, and I was like, this looks ridiculous. There's no way they're going to use this, and I sent it to him, and he had the same reaction that I normally have to people, and I was like, yeah, I guess that was kind of a dick move because in the terms of like I'm being a hypocrite, to what I say. But like the shit that's like, oh, I have a personal jet and I flew over, the where they're filming and I took aerial shots. Like, one, that's a shitty thing to do. That's a close set. Fuck you. Two, I don't want to see what the Millennium Falcon looks like now. And also, three, it probably looks like, more or less it looks like it did in the original trilogy.
I assume, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I try to stay away from like set photos and that sort of thing. But if it's like, casting or official press statements or trailers,
I don't even like half of that shit. Like, I don't like that I know who's playing the Flash in the Flash movie. Even if he's gonna be in the Justice League movie, that's like still what 2-3 years off.
2 years.
I don't even.
Batman, Superman.
I don't even like how much information I know about Batman versus Superman. I don't like that I know that. I don't like that I know that Wonder Woman's gonna be in it. Let alone who she is or what she's, what her costume looks like. I don't like the fact that I know Cyborg's going to be in it. You probably know who it is, but I was like, whatever, I don't even care. I barely like Cyborg the character outside of like the Teen Titans cartoon.
Cyborg hates you almost as much as he
I'm sure
him.
That's true.
I'm sure he probably does.
That's one thing because in the game Injustice Gods Among Us, one of the playable characters is Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
And my roommate at the time, Garrett, was vehement in how much Cyborg sucked, and then I went on a huge, like, Jake can corroborate this.
Oh man,
I went on like a huge streak as Cyborg, just kicking the shit.
Yeah,
out.
when you sit around with your friends, it's like 3 or 4 of you. It was like 3 or 4 of us, and we're sitting around, and every time we lost, we'd switch the control to the other person. And Sam was Cyborg and just kept kicking all of our asses, and it was getting more and more frustrated. And Sam kept like gaining more power from our hatred, and was just like, yes, yes. And I finally,
that's totally believable that
it
Sam
was like,
would.
It was like 8 or 9 or 10 like turns where I finally beat him as Green Arrow. Like finally, because he just had this move. He'd go in tight,
my
quick
trademark, dude.
And a little flap, 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 flap. and then he'd jump over you and then come in from the rear and a little flap, 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 flap.
Is this Sam Stone playing a video game or having
No, we're talking
sex?
about something else now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
This is sex.
And no, but he that was his way of defeating you. And
and it was announced. It was announced. Cyborg hates you as much as you hate him.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I got to be part of that little inside joke.
I started playing Injustice again, actually.
Oh yeah,
because I was like, I would never use Aquaman before, and then as everyone knows, like I was reading all the Jeff Johns stuff, I was like, I'll give Aquaman a try.
Dude, Aquaman's great.
He's good in that game.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've played as Wonder Woman a lot too. She's really good.
That's just fulfilling fantasies of yours, though.
She actually kicks ass. Though.
She kicks a lot.
She's
of
awesome.
ass.
She's awesome.
She kicks a lot. Of
I
ass.
just wanted to make a joke about how Jake likes to wear masks and wear skirts.
I'm trying to think who the worst.
Even though
What?
Wonder Woman doesn't wear masks.
No,
But you like masks.
I do. I mean, my best character on that is Superman. Like, he's the only person I have like combos memorized. Like, there's like no characters in any. I'm not a big gamer, like in terms of fighting games. I can't remember all the moves. And I think I have every outfit too. Like, I've downloaded every outfit.
I grew up in the house of Street Fighter, so yeah.
I was more of a. I mean,
And you guys like to play video games.
Yes, yeah.
yeah, I was more of a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I was raised
guy.
by Ryu and Ken. Yeah, Mortal Kombat's cool,
That's why
but
Anne's always kicking people in the nuts.
yeah, what's Mortal Kombat's outside of the fatalities? That was the big draw, at least for the early games. I thought.
True that.
Well, yeah,
And a
Yeah.
bitchin'
And
movie.
and Scorpion.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And Scorpion looked cool.
Yeah.
yeah. I was always a
Yeah.
Liu Kang guy, based on my love of kung fu film.
So wait, you were going to ask Jake about my stance on social media?
Oh yeah, well, you know, the first little while of like Walking Dead, I'd watch it live and stuff, and then nowadays, I'll catch it on demand later.
Yeah.
But I try to stay off, Twitter and stuff with that. But the thing is, if I come across a spoiler on Twitter after it's aired, I don't get pissed because people in the moment get really excited and want to express something about shows. I know when I was binging Breaking Bad and tweeting like an absolute psychopath, like it was nuts how much I was tweeting about Breaking Bad.
It really was.
And I did my best not to spoil that because Breaking Bad was never spoiled for me, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to ruin it for everyone. I would be as nonchalant as possible about like characters and trying to not use names and just kind of say like.
Yeah, I totally understand.
But is it
the desire to be like, oh my god, this person died?
Yeah, but is it fair to tweet about something, a show, as it's airing? I mean, of course it's fair because you can do whatever you want, but what's your stance on that? Like,
I basically the same
or
thing.
just stay off social media.
Yeah, like what?
It's
so
easy.
back when I was like into Doctor Who, I've fallen off that wagon.
Well, I saw Mark Wade recently. He posted something like that was the worst episode of Doctor Who ever. I don't know. It was like.
Yeah.
Though in Doctor Who's defense, he's like, but last week's was like pretty good.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, last week's was so good or brilliant or something.
Yeah. But yeah, back when I was on that a lot, like I follow a lot of like Doctor Who blogs on my Tumblr, and I would just not go online until I had a chance to watch the episode, which meant like a day or two of not being online because, of course, all the people that run those blogs are like watching the British broadcast. So that's like 5 hours or something like that before it's available here in the States, unless you watch it online. And then it wouldn't record until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night here, and sometimes I wouldn't watch it right away. And so then I was like, damn it, I can't check anything until like I watch it tomorrow morning or something like that. Right now, I'm not watching too many shows that are like spoiler boners.
Though both of you guys just saw Constantine, right? You saw Constantine in New York.
Yes, I saw Constantine in New York, and I didn't tweet about it because I'm respectful.
Well done, well done. What'd you guys think of it? I haven't seen it.
I thought it was awesome. I
It was
thought,
almost as good as the movie.
yeah, totally.
Just to piss off all the people listening, because I know most people hate that movie. But Jake and I actually like it.
The movie? Oh, totally. I
yeah.
love the movie, but
from an objective standpoint, not comparing it to the movie, But comparing it to what I know of the comics, I thought that it was a very good representation of the character.
I mean, the dude looks like John Constantine.
Yeah, Matt Ryan.
And he sounds British as fuck.
Matt Ryan,
I think the wrong accent if you want to split hairs, but
Yeah, not Cockney, but I'll take it.
but right country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused, Matt Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons quarterback, but Matt Ryan the
nerds are gonna
actor.
confuse
Matt
them.
Ryan the actor. Hey, you never know.
I don't confuse it, so therefore
Some guy was like, Jesus, shit, holy crap, it's the same guy. I thought Constantine was on my fantasy football team.
He's been doing shit for me.
Yeah.
Shit for me.
Yeah.
he's too busy smoking and blowing dudes because he's bi.
He's by in the
He is.
comics.
They said that the TV show maybe not so much, which
Yeah.
is a shame.
yeah. Damn
But
network.
it's on after 10 o'clock, so they go dark. They go really dark, and they go really kind of freaky and scary, which I was hoping they would do. And
to just to jump in real quick, he does actually put out a cigarette.
he does,
in,
and
in
I
one of the
figured,
shots just for spoilers. He smokes.
I figured that's how they were going to go about it. And I had read an interview that Jeff Johns was talking about all the DC TV shows, and he was saying, Easter eggs are in there for a reason. They're not just in there for fan service. Like so, and I will say spoiler, even though it was in the trailer, because I don't want to ruin this for anybody. It's a spoiler. But you see Dr. Fate's helmet in the pilot,
The
which was
Helm
awesome.
Of Naboo.
and it is so fucking awesome because
Dude,
that they're like because Jeff Johns basically says like the helmet's there for a reason. Like it's not just a decoration piece. Like the majestic side of and the magical side of DC. Like we are going to be seeing more of that somewhere down the line.
Good, because there was Dr. Fate in Smallville, so if they can have it in Smallville.
Yeah, and that was the episode that Jeff Johns wrote. Like he's all about the JSA.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
But yeah, you should have heard that scene at New York Comic Con.
Oh, they went crazy?
Fans,
That's so cool.
you could hear the boners ripping through cosplay costumes.
Nice.
Oh man, that
and-
makes
and
my
they-
boner rip through my jeans.
And you can see, yeah,
Rip.
you can see the helmet in a couple of the shots just in the background. But yeah, it's really well paced.
Mm-hmm.
Really funny, really disturbing at times too. I'm really looking forward to it because I mean I was nervous not because I don't have faith in it because the DC shows for the most part have been knocking it out of the park like really, and the Flash I couldn't be more happy with. Like that show is just fantastic. It was because Constantine is the least known out of the shows that were announced. So they had a lot to prove.
Less than iZombie?
Yeah. Well, it had a lot to yeah, I guess.
iZombie doesn't premiere. It's a mid-season premiere, so you're fine.
Yeah. So I was nervous, but it went up against the World Series and did really well.
Yeah.
Like really well.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to it.
You know, oddly enough, I think I forgot to record it.
Yeah.
Really?
Granted, I saw it already. So
Yeah. And
We-
it's on demand.
We
so.
just have to see if it holds up.
I hope so because
Yeah.
right now, I mean, they set it up really well. A lot of cool little Easter eggs. Some that I don't even understand because I've only read very little Constantine. I've never read any of the New 52. Well, he's shown up in some stuff like the He-Man versus DC, Masters of the Universe versus DC. And I've read him in a couple other books, but I've read.
And he was in Forever Evil, right?
He had his own spin-off miniseries called Forever Evil, like Blight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've read some of the Vertigo stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I've got the first volume of Hellblazer, and I have the first at least 8 issues, probably the first 2 or 3 story arcs of his New 52 solo title, and of course the first 3 or 4 story arcs of Justice League Dark, of which he's a member, in which Guillermo del Toro wants to make a movie. That'd be
they
pretty
want
sweet.
they want to do the Dark Universe, Marvel. I mean DC kind of side.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting Dead Man or Zatanna or
Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing was always one of my favorites as a kid.
I'm pretty sure there's a pretty big Swamp Thing Easter
Reference?
egg in Constantine.
Yeah, I want to say I remember there being something too. Like I
need to
couldn't
watch
quite-
it. Yeah,
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I was like, are they talking about Swamp
I need
Thing?
to watch it again because it's exciting because somewhere there was some review or some article that was saying they were basing the first season off of a Swamp Thing arc, and but they're taking Swamp Thing out as the main character and putting Constantine in instead.
Yeah.
But
He first shows up in Swamp Thing 76 and 77.
yeah,
something like that.
looking exactly like Sting, and which is the point.
Yeah, it was the basis.
And this could open the door for, of course, Swamp Thing, Animal Man, which would be freaking
Another
amazing.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
Was there a
So-
TV series or just the movies?
just the movie.
Just
I
the
thought.
movie,
Yeah,
with Adrian Barba. Who directed that?
Wes Craven.
Wes Craven. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Wes Craven's Wes Craven's Len Wein's Swamp Thing.
Yes.
John Carpenter's Wes Craven's
Len Wein's, adapted from the story by Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
John Carpenter's Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2.
Based on the novel Push by Sapphire, edited by John Carpenter,
And read by music by John Carpenter, and read books on tape by Audible.com. Founded by John Carpenter.
Narrated by John Carpenter. Yeah. This has been John Carpenter. Good night. Even though that's not what John Carpenter sounds like at all.
That's just for some reason that's the worst.
Oh no, he sounds.
For
some reason we make him sound like. What is even that voice?
It's not going full Arnold, but like almost going over the cliff to Arnold.
It's
so
like
you're teetering on the edge.
Yeah, it's like if Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I feel like it's like what's his name? The guy from Sopranos.
James
dead.
Gandolfini?
Yeah, if James Gandolfini were doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. Like,
I just finished that series.
I got off.
Is that what it sounds like?
A little, yeah. There is that New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like I got off work today, and I went back home to pick up Sam, drive over some, grab dinner, and do all the podcast and fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I open the door to the basement, and I start walking downstairs, and I don't hear the TV, and I just hear Sam go, "This is it." This is the end, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Like, then you just hear a faint gunshot.
Well, no, I thought he was talking about like, "This is it." Like, you know, we got some filming to do, blah blah blah. We're gonna wrap it all up, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I turn, and it's like, I walked in, and I knew how it ended, but like the last 2 minutes of Sopranos. So
yeah, I finally finished that series.
We watched that before heading over.
Series. I know how it ends, though.
Yeah,
I think everybody knows how that ends. It's
someone
such a huge.
Well, they leave it ambiguous. They leave it.
Someone gets shot at. I think
again, they leave it ambiguous. I think I personally, 7-year-old spoilers. I do think Tony Soprano dies at the end of The Sopranos.
It's
pretty well foreshadowed earlier in the season.
Yeah, and you were telling me about it, and I have not watched much of it, but I know the ending, and it seems like, as morbid as it sounds, like that's the perfect way to end it.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, in season 1, is like, you know, my favorite movie is The Godfather, and his favorite scenes when Michael Corleone goes into the bathroom and to get the gun to kill Officer McCluskey and the other motherfucker in the Italian restaurant. And a very shady-looking guy goes into the bathroom. The camera makes a point to follow him going to the bathroom, and it kind of reminds, earlier in the season, one of the characters like, do you think you know when you get whacked? Or does it just kind of happen? And then, of course, later in the season, he gets fucking killed. And another in an episode before that, Steve Van Zandt from the E Street Band.
Yeah,
Bruce
Miami Steve.
Yeah, he's having dinner with somebody, and he doesn't even realize the guy in front that he's been having dinner with has been assassinated until his blood sprays all over him. And then he looks up, and he's like, oh, shit, he's dead. And I feel like that's what happens to Tony. He doesn't even know he's dead until... he doesn't see it coming.
A couple of onion rings, and then
that's all. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
some Journey, and
Journey always does that to me.
The way that's edited though, like you're just on the edge, like because everything, like the door keeps opening, the bell,
on the edge of glory,
and then Lady Gaga was in an episode of Sopranos.
Is that a Gaga song?
Yeah,
Edge of Glory.
For some
reason, I love that song.
For some reason, I thought it was a Katy Perry.
That's my favorite. I think that's my favorite. And plus, speaking of E Street Band, you get Clarence Clemens doing the saxophone on that song. That's a great song. I love that song.
Yeah. I have to. What's my favorite Gaga song? Probably Telephone.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I do like Judas a lot too. That's a really kind of rock and roll.
I really like.
That's a good one. Yeah. Well, I like Bad Romance personally.
Yeah.
I karaoke the shit out of that song.
Speechless is really good too. Like her ballad, and then You and I, of course, Brian May's on it as well.
What's the one she does on Art Pop where it's like almost like
Gypsy?
Yes, that's my favorite.
Gypsy's great.
That's my favorite track on that album.
I keep like, I like this song. The song Art Pop, I think, is one of the best songs she's ever written, melody-wise and lyrics. Also, Disco. Is it called? It's not Disco Inferno. Obviously, it's Disco Heaven. Disco Heaven. Great off of her first album.
Yeah,
I think it's a B-side or like an extra track or whatever.
Yeah, first album-wise, it's probably going to be something like Let's Dance or Poker Face. Because I remember like hanging out and like she was fucking big in Europe before she was big here. Like she was like it was a big fucking deal. Like crowds would always go wild whenever like one of those tracks came on.
Yeah, I saw her live.
She does seem like a Euro pop, since type of style.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised when I found out that she wasn't like a European superstar that just
the girl
came
that
over.
grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I saw her live this year. It's the
That's
real,
right,
it's
yeah.
the
You
real
were in the
deal,
mosh
man.
pit.
She puts on a hell of a show.
I
Like,
saw Katy Perry in June.
nice.
Also decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was that at again?
That was at the Verizon Center, like
Verizon
you,
as well?
right?
Okay,
Yeah, that's where
yeah.
we saw. I was in the cheap seats though. I didn't have pit seats.
I don't think I've seen
Well,
a
we got-
concert in like over a year.
What was the last one you went to?
I can't remember.
Do you remember where it was?
No, I definitely
It wasn't the Foo, was it?
No, it wasn't.
That was 3 years ago.
No, because I saw my last day in DC before I moved. Did we all go to NWK or was it
Just
No,
you
I
and
didn't-
me
I didn't.
just-
and John?
We were all at Foo.
Yeah,
Yes,
we were
all
all
at
at the Foo
Foo,
Fighters.
yeah.
Unknowingly, or at least
And probably
yeah.
Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah,
And probably Snakes on a Plane.
but
opening
no,
day.
I definitely saw at least one concert
I
while
saw.
I was in New York. I saw who was it? I think it was Less Than Jake and Pennywise in Times Square.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
was actually at the last
Like a
concert you
reunion
ever at.
show.
Last concert you ever at was at the Black Cat. It was Andrew WK.
Right. So it was Andrew WK.
Back in
just
April.
Not that Andrew.
Yeah, which
not
we-
the 930 Club Andrew
Where
WK.
you were like 10 feet away from me and John, and we didn't know.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah.
Then again, we didn't really become like that close until I moved away.
Yeah, because I was going up to New York that year for
And you
New
needed
York
a place to
Comic-Con.
crash.
And I was like, oh, cool. Well, Chris lives up there, and
Anne's friend Chris lives
yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
Let's see. I remember we had the similar interests. Whenever I saw him at karaoke, let's see what he's up to.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started, gang. It was love at first.
Lovers.
Beat you to it.
Sharpshooter.
Zing, zing, zing. Oh yeah. But speaking of Katy
And
Perry, from
Jake watches.
yeah, and Jake, yeah, Glee
Mhm.
while rubbing his hands with Glee and delight.
Mhm.
The word
The
delight.
DVD Glee.
Yeah. There's a Katy Perry song in her latest album called "Walking on Air," and it's my favorite song on that album because it sounds like a Ace of Base kind of like real McCoy song.
Yeah, I remember you playing that
Yeah,
for me.
and I was like, so I was at Newport News this past weekend for my college's homecoming because I like to, I enjoyed college, and it's really the only opportunity I get to see people I knew from college and en masse and all that. But that entire weekend, for some fucking reason, I'm just listening to Walking on Air nearly on repeat. And me being innocent me, despite all signs of the contrary, with my predilection towards the use of the word anus and various variations on penis,
I tried not to laugh. I tried.
Just so everyone knows, I've buried my head in my hand and I'm just shaking my head.
in approval. Because that's what shaking head means.
How do you
right?
shake your head in approval? You can nod your head in approval.
Sure. Like all the other people. But the song Walking on Air is all about like having like sex so awesomely that it makes heaven cry. And I didn't know that until I sat down and like looked at the lyrics, and I was like, "Oh." And then when you look at the lyrics, it's like, "How the fuck did you not get that?" It's like pretty clearly about fucking somebody hard and both parties, really really digging it, really being a fan of
Well,
that
I
performance.
guess I can understand you not understanding that.
Oh yeah. Because she's like, we go just when I think I can't take any more, we go deeper and harder, and it's like, how did I not get that? Yeah. So
Sounds exactly like something you would say.
I never had the birds and bees talk with my father.
That explains so much.
Did you guys have that?
My dad, who listens to the show,
Yeah.
is a big fan of being very open and being very honest, sometimes without provocation. So I had little snippets, little snapshots of like the birds and the bees talk constantly
I
throughout
can
my
just see,
life.
like, at age 7, one day you're going to meet a girl, and then, like, 3 years later, you're going to fall in love, and then a couple years later,
Yeah,
and then you're going to put your dick in her.
Not, but no, like so. He sometimes like he would try to like he would notice something going on and he would be like, well, Chris, let me explain. What's I freaked out the first time I had an erection, and because I was like 8 or something like it seemed pretty young, and like I walked up to him because he's a fellow man, and I was just in my childhood I was just like, Dad, why is my wee getting hard sometimes?
This is the best thing
I
ever.
know, right?
I have a story that'll top that.
It's
but
even better knowing that he's going to listen to this and probably be like, yeah. Or be like, damn it, Chris, why are you talking? These people don't need to know this private information about you. But he would be like, oh, son, it's... it stuck with me for my entire life because of the way he put it. But he was like, well, son, it's just practicing for when you're older and you're with a girl that you really love and you're trying to make a baby. And like looking back on it, it's probably some very weird information, like too much information to give a little kid like that. But at the same time,
it's pretty well
satisfied my curiosity without lying. It wasn't just like, oh, it's magic.
Why
or
did you see,
God's doing that or something like that.
8-year-old Chris looks down on his wee and he's like, "That's the damnedest thing. Damnedest thing.
What in the world are you doing?"
Here's the thing. My dad called me out when I had my first boner.
Oh God. That's gotta be it. Like, at least my story wasn't. My story is just one of those embarrassing to tell stories, but not necessarily embarrassing to live. But that sounds like the worst thing to do.
Been living with it for 22 years, gentlemen. 22 years. Yeah, I was 6 years.
Ripping in the tearing. They're ripping in the tearing.
There was none because I was only 6 years old.
Oh, so you had a good first erection.
Dude, I get... Yeah,
there was no ripping or tearing.
Yeah. Don't you not rip... Anyway, so, when I was 6 years old, I popped my first chubby. And my dad was like, Sam... thinking about the girls in class, and I was just like, no. Like, I don't know why my dick had a mind of its own.
Thinking about the boys.
Not at that point. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we never had to talk. I just kind of figured...
More of the make fun of.
Yeah, yes. as is the Stone way. Yeah. We just kind of...
No, I do want to commend my dad. Like
it sounds like a decent way to
one of the best things that he ever imparted on me was just like his attitude towards everything. Like he was very dead set on being honest. Like that's one of his big things that also carried with me. Like Nolans are trustworthy. Nolans are honest people. So like that holds true with me. Excuse me, I'm gonna.
Nice.
Typical Chris can't keep his whatever. He
gastrointestinal.
Yeah. And it gives me that weird Shatner cadence.
Yeah.
But.
So Nolans are trustworthy, whereas Stones make fun of each other's piddly boners.
Yeah, I mean, we still make jokes at everyone's expense, but no, he and it's a real refreshing to find out about like how that was like one of the best parts about growing up in my household. That specifically since we're a very Christian, very Catholic household, like hearing other people people talk about how like they grew up in a very Christian or even specifically Catholic household, and like they're like I was turned off to the faith in general and my family because I found out that like all they would do is like whenever I had any kind of question, they would either be like, shut up, don't ask that, or God made it so, and like that was it. That was it. Whereas my dad was like, well, here, let's figure out what's going on, and like if he didn't know something, we would learn it together.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of funny dad interactions, you guys have some from the past. I had one that happened like a couple days ago.
Your dad listens to this show too, doesn't he?
No, I don't know if he does actually.
Like the rest of your family does.
No, just the only.
I mean, they all follow us on Twitter.
My mom and my sister. But I got a text from my dad in the morning when I was at work, and he goes, Jake, if you were home by yourself and you knew you were home alone, and you heard a fart that wasn't your own, would you laugh or scream? And I was like, what the fuck? And so I wrote back like, I'd probably laugh and then die. And he wrote back, "Me too." So that's the kind of text conversations we have. In between talking about the New York Giants or the latest episode of Arrow.
Yeah.
So, that's what we do.
Sounds good. My dad doesn't know how to text.
Yeah.
So
my dad likes to use the speech to text, which can get kind of awkward when like I'm driving him around to something, and he'll yell into his phone whatever the text he's trying to say is. He also often treats them like telegrams, so like they'll be like missing words or stuff like that. We have a tradition in our family on Mondays to go to Foster's Grill in Manassas, which is a great burger joint, and it would be awesome if they could sponsor us because they're delicious. But shameless plugging.
if it gets us free burgers,
right? They're also delicious. So not just free, but no,
free delicious burgers.
Yeah, but like the Manassas one has like a senior discount on Monday, so we go because certain members of our family are of age to get that. And like my mom watches my niece down in like Fredericksburg, Stafford area. So she drives up, meets us in Manassas. I drive my dad because he's at home from work by this time. And whenever we get like halfway there, I'm always like, "Oh, hey, do you want to text her and let her know that we're passing like Five Guys or something like that?" And he'll like open up his phone and just yell at Five Guys in the phone. And I'm sitting there like, well, now she's going to think that we've changed our mind and we've gone to eat at Five Guys. So he's like, passing Five Guys, not eating there, still going to Foster's. I'm like, well, now you've given her too much information. So my dad's fun. He's silly.
My dad would always do that thing early on with text where he would text me and end it by going, "Dad." And I was like, "Dad, it says dad when you text me, I don't know if it was like a military thing or what." Or I'll write like it's
not a letter.
Yeah, he'll like I'll write him a really long thing, like a big thing that we always talk about is, like I said, he's become since day one, but he is like a big Arrow fan of the TV show, and so and I watch it Thursday night because I'm working when it's airing on Wednesdays, and so I'll usually send him a big thing like, "Oh, watch the most recent episode of Arrow." Also, he was terrible with spoilers; like he didn't understand the concept of it. And I won't say it out, what it was, because I don't know if you guys are caught up or whatever, but I want to ruin it for anybody.
Am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, well, spoiler for anyone else who listens, and Sam already, I think, knows everything that happens on Arrow anyway.
3,
2, 1. I sent him a text, and I go, "Did you watch last night's episode? I haven't watched it. I'm really looking forward to it." And he goes, "Oh, yeah. When Ollie reveals to Roy that he's really the Arrow, one of the best scenes I've ever seen." And I was like, fuck. It didn't. It was still a great
text
scene.
back.
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, it's still, I opened my phone. Fuck.
Rude.
Yeah,
rude, Dad.
Yeah, and he didn't care. He was like, it was awesome. It was a great scene. But anyway,
doesn't change the fact that it was the best scene in all of Arrow.
I'll write him this thing, and I'll write, watching the most recent episode of Arrow. Can't believe this scene happened. Really awesome. Like, this is really blah 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 blah. This really long thing. And he writes back, "Cool." Or his favorite is Roger. He always writes back Roger. I'm like, all right, whatever.
One thing that gets me is I'm the kind of person that likes to get all the information in like one text or like one message. Send it out. My dad and Sam are both really bad at sending like thoughts, like as they come to them. So like. So I'll be like, I'll write this like long thing about like, blah 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 blah. All of this information takes me like 5 minutes to compose it, but I'm like, that's everything that I wanted to say to them. Send it out, and then like, my dad will respond with, "Sure," whole message. Then like 2 seconds later, I'll get another notification and be like, "Yeah, I think this," and then 2 seconds later. So what do we, blah, like, and just like
much
bing,
more
bing,
shorthand,
bing, 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 and it's probably the worst thing. And like, there was one time that Sam and I were talking over Facebook chat, and I think I was working on something, and like would hop back to Facebook to check what he was messaging me, and I want to say I was editing something, and so I was listening intently to it, and the only way that I would get a notification that he had responded was with the ding, the because I wasn't looking at the page, so I had to have the ding on. But like he sent me like 10 messages rapid fire, and it was just like ding 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 ding, and I like threw my headphones down and was just like, fuck Sam, I fucking never want to talk to him again. And like I actually like messaged back like, Jesus Christ, put it all in one message. And then Sam, being the honorable man he is, sent me like 2 messages rapid fire being like, oh, sorry.
Ding, ding.
Yeah. It's like, you're not sorry at all.
The end of Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Ding,
Ding.
So,
I love it when they spoof that on Family Guy
mm-hmm.
between Quagmire and Cleveland.
Yeah.
But
so basically, moral of the story is Sam is the worst.
Sam is the worst. Yeah. I honestly, when I like text and do stuff like
I understand like the thought process that's probably going into it. You're literally texting as you're thinking.
yeah, it's like when I was when people use instant messenger, that's my same style. I don't do the.
And I hated it on Instant Messenger
yeah,
too.
sure, fine. I'm more short form when it comes to that sort of thing. Fly by wire,
Fly by night.
Bird on a Wire.
man on a ledge,
Yeah.
starring Sam Worthington. Yeah, I mean those are some of the. Yeah. Now I have to say I just wanted to kind of touch on this like real quick and see if you guys had any cool, interesting stories, but probably not. But like I was saying, this past weekend I went
20 minutes ago.
Yeah. I went to Newport News, where I went to college at Christopher Newport University for, I got to catch up with some of my professors and got to go to all my old stomping grounds. And whenever I visit, because I really only visit for homecoming, whenever I go down there, it's always kind of this weird blend of like nostalgia. Like, hey, this is really cool to be back, and it's really weird to be back. Like I was telling Jake earlier, I was sitting
back in the CNU.
Yeah, CNU groove. I was sitting in Schooners, which was I used to live 3 floors above the only bar on campus, and so the tradition was every Friday after all our last classes, me and my roommates would go down there and like knock out a couple of pitchers over 2 or 3 hours. And I was meeting somebody at Schooners that afternoon, and I'm watching, college kids, people that were my age. And the thing is, I've been out of college, like I finished in 2010, so it doesn't feel like it's been a long time, but it is. I mean, if you think about it, I've been out of college the entire academic career length of some of those people, and provided they graduated on time. And I didn't. It took me 5 years. So it was really weird to kind of see, as almost an outsider, like, oh yeah, I used to do that, that sort of thing. So it's always kind of a blast. You guys have any? Jake, I'm sure you visited like Roanoke and stuff in the years since, and
yeah, I did. It was weird because Roanoke's a fairly small school, so you can walk to the bar and back, which is handy and safe. Although you'd go, it would take like 15 minutes to walk to the bar, and in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning when you're walking back, we'd always joke it was like the fucking Lord of the Rings, because you were pretty drunk, and trying to get back to your room was a challenge. I mean, honestly, looking back on it now, like I'm more embarrassed by like than anything else from the stuff that went down in college, like the parties and going to the bars and all that kind of stuff. Because like for a while it was like that thing where you'd be telling the stories with your buddies and you're laughing while you're in college, and then you get out and you go down after that next year and tell the stories again, and then you tell the story like another time like a year or 2 after, and you're just like, wow, that's fucking insane that any of that happened, but the interesting thing, I was telling Sam, like I can't remember like any of my schedule, like of course there are of course friends that I made there that I'll be friends with forever, and also professors and teachers that I still talk to and are great people and great teachers, and like the epitome of what it means to be a good inspiration and teacher for somebody. But there are some I just can't remember. Like Sam was saying he could remember, you would sit down with a pen and paper and you can write out your schedule from 7th grade until you graduated.
I can
That's
write it.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I can write out my class schedule, teachers' times from 7th grade through grad school. information does absolutely fuck all for me.
Yeah.
But I can do it.
I can't. I can't do it. Like it.
Yeah, no, I can associate certain classes with certain teachers, and I can remember certain classmates that were in specific classes, but I don't even think I could tell you what day of the week those classes were.
I feel like that's most people. I feel like I'm just some freaky
I'm
outlier.
You and your sister.
Yeah. Us Stones making fun of piddly boners and remembering class schedules for like 10 years.
Yep, that's the family crest.
A piddly boner and a stack of papers that say school schedule.
Yeah. A piddly boner writing out his schedule.
I think we have a episode title.
I think we have a wiener. I haven't been down the road in a while, but yeah, just like I was thinking about some of the stories, and I was like, "This is insane. Like, this is ridiculous."
I got it all out of my system. I almost got kicked out of school my first month there because I couldn't keep it together initially. Mm-hmm. And like that was kind of the wake up call. It's like, oh shit, I need to like be on my best behavior. And I've relatively without incident for the 4.5 years, really 4 years and 11 months afterwards. Yeah,
I was also just like the worst student ever.
It was never academic for me though. I almost like something happens I think between high school and college because
you don't have your parental supervision anymore.
Well, I think like.
Well, I think that's what it is for like most kids. Like,
sure,
they're still the same person that they were in high school, but now they're like, oh, but I don't have mom and dad breathing down my neck constantly.
Yeah, I don't
because I'm
necessarily
in the dorms.
I don't necessarily have to go to class anymore.
Yeah, which is why I don't have a lot of cool, quote unquote cool college stories because I was either still living at my parents' house because I was going to a local school, or I was the RA. At best, the best story that I have is just kind of making fun of the group of friends that I hung out with because we would almost always go across the street to the McDonald's, and they had a weird employee exchange program or something going on. There was always like Russian girls working there. It was like the only McDonald's that I've been to where there've been, it's McDonald's. It's mostly like Latinos and black people working.
Minority groups.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's more accurate. Yeah, and probably a better way to say it. But yeah, like it's mostly that at McDonald's. I think that's fair to say. But yeah, this one had Russian girls working there a lot, and they were all pretty attractive.
Oh, Zach's heart must have been a Twitter.
It was hilarious to see how Zach would be, and we would always be like, hey Zach, why don't you give him your number, huh? Why don't you just write it on the receipt and hand it back to her? We finally got him to do it once, and I don't think she understood what was going on. Probably mostly because Zach was being an idiot about it, but she was like, "Oh, okay, thanks," and then
crumples it up, throws it in the trash.
Yeah, pretty much. Never got a call.
Of course.
And then there's one story about how we walked in and I waved at one of them, and she waved back at me, and that was when all the 3 or 4 other guys that I was with turned and looked, and so they saw her waving at our general direction, so they were all like, "Oh, she's waving at me," and like, I never told them that it was a responsorial wave. Like I let them
waved again.
Yeah,
I let them have that.
Yeah, don't crush their hopes and dreams.
Yeah, right.
Being waved at by the pretty French woman or Russian woman, right? Yeah. I don't know. I meant more in terms of certainly like the fact you don't have to necessarily go to class or a parent isn't hovering over you to do your homework, but. I don't know about you guys at Centerville, but Robinson starts at 7:20. At least when I was there.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I think it was around 7:20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means I had to like wake up at like 5:45 every morning to get over to Rob. Yeah, it sucked.
Speaking real quick with the dad stuff. My dad woke me up every morning. I'd set my alarm, but he'd wake me up by singing Reveille. So he would come down the stairs and go, "It's time to get up. It's time to get up. It's time to get up in the morning. It's time to get up. It's time to get up. It's time to get up in the morning." And he'd open the door and then shut the door again because he was like,
Are those
getting
the
up.
actual lyrics to Reveille?
I don't think there's actual lyrics to Reveille.
Yeah, I
It's
just know it's a
the
beautiful call.
and the fucking hilarious thing is, so that happens all through middle school and high school. Like, not every day, but it was a reoccurring thing, right? Then I get sent to military school where they actually fucking play Reveille every morning on the trumpet over the PA system.
Oof.
So it was the years and years of that. So
That sucks.
So now every time you hear Reveille, you start to reach towards an imaginary gun.
yeah, I'm just ready to,
End it.
yeah. No, I'm just ready to start the day
This
whenever
is
I
the
hear it.
end.
Yeah.
This is the end, guys.
This is it. This is the end. So when I was signing up for classes for my first semester of college, like that at orientation, I was like, fuck, I can totally do the 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. classes. They're in walking distance of my dorm. This isn't a big deal, right? Those are the classes I almost failed because like something.
Really?
Yeah, something happened in between and over that summer, and it wasn't like I was like going to bed on time all the time senior year. I was still going to bed at like around midnight, and so. But I don't know. Something, maybe it was the fact I also gained like 45 pounds my first year of
Holy
college.
crap.
Yeah.
That's a
Freshman 45.
the freshman 15 were not kind to you.
Yeah, the freshman 15 went by a multiple of 3. Yeah, it was. I always say it was because I had a 19 meal a week plan, which was the most you could have because my dad was just like, "Oh, this is I want you to eat," and yeah, so. Seeing you being...
I want you to eat and get piddly boners.
Yeah, get chubby boners now. Do us Stones proud so we don't break the cycle. Seeing you being...
There is a prophecy that a boy will become a man, and the chubby boner shall rise again and again.
I never saw the piddly boner again.
And you're just driving away with a piddly boner in the middle of the road and dust flying everywhere.
A dog following it.
The dog is dead.
Sam, remember when I said that this episode should be a tight 45?
Oh, we're gonna have to delete. We'll talk about logistics afterwards.
Yeah, no, I just felt like pointing that out because I'm giggling.
Oh yeah. Because we have so much boner material.
We don't need to lift the
padded it
veil
out.
for other people to know.
Yeah. Oh man, so much boner talk. The more than usual, really.
Can we just call like your show like when you have your own like syndicated show where it's just Sam? Can it be Boner Talk with Sam Stone?
Yeah. It has to play after midnight. And only on cable. No network would pick it up. The
basically like Cinemax.
Yeah. Skinamax. About my anyway. Yeah, so I always said it was because seeing you being a southern school, you had like lots of fried chicken and lots of like ribs and all that kind of shit. And of course, it was all you can eat buffet style in our cafeterias, because you'd already paid for the meal. It was part of the meal plan, so I would just go back in line and get more ribs. And I remember the first week of CNU, I was like, cool, I have access to a free gym. That means I can get ripped like Nightwing. And I went like...
Out of all the characters, I can get ripped like Nightwing, which is something you would say.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone's ever like, man, I remember the first time I saw a picture of Nightwing, that's when I knew I wanted to be a bodybuilder. You know what I mean?
I'm going to look like that guy. I have since lost most of the weight. I actually, by year 3, I was like in the best shape of my life. I was pretty close to Nightwing status. Now I'm probably, I don't know, like Steve McQueen and like the Hunter.
If you knew anything about what was happening to Steve McQueen during The Hunter, it's,
It's maybe not the best shape Steve
yeah,
McQueen's
he was
ever
not
been
in good shape.
Yeah, he's dying during the production of that film, actually.
Yeah,
Yep.
bummer.
Yeah, so...
I'm in shape comparable to Raul Julia in Street Fighter.
The movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to Raul Julia in Street Fighter the game.
The game, which he's in. Well, he's in Street Fighter the movie, the game. Yeah, because they had sprites like Mortal Kombat. It was really awkward. It was actually terrible. But yeah.
Unlike the movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do, I love college. I love grad school. I'm one of those, like, sick fucks that I feel like genuinely enjoyed school. Like, I like the idea, just the concept of it. The idea that I'm with my friends, hopefully, provided that you get along with the people you go to school with. and I'm learning stuff that's really cool.
And I took away a positive thing from college, not necessarily. I mean, high school and grade school in general. Like I'm actually fairly indifferent to. Like I don't have that like typical like teen angsty stuff. But at the same time, I never look back at it and like, oh, those are the best years of my life. You know, like, nah.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was last week. I'm not the kind of guy that says like the peak of my life was like high school. Like like Springsteen. I'm not saying my glory days have passed me by, but I do look on with a certain fondness, and even kind of a twinge of like, oh, it'd be cool to revisit that. Like if I wasn't like 28 years old, like. Mm-hmm. In terms of like high school, college, and even grad school. I know a lot of people are like, fuck grad school. I actually enjoyed grad school quite a bit. Grad school is like a second job that hopefully you enjoy what you're studying. Otherwise, it's just a second job you have to pay for. Still paying that one off. But
I'm still paying off college.
Me too.
The undergrad's on lock. It's just grad school I'm paying for now.
Yeah. I imagine most people our age are still paying off college because it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Our kids, if we ever have kids and they happen to go to college, if college is still a thing in like 2050, because that's totally when we're going to have college-age children, is more
I mean, that's when I'm going to have children.
When we're almost like, 60-some years old.
Yeah.
When I'm 64.
Boom, boom.
And Heather Mills didn't still love him when he turned 64.
Yeah. Bummer.
Yeah. Bummer from
Rude.
For Sir Paul. But, yeah, this has been an enlightening conversation, guys, talking about
As always.
Yeah, always. God, now you know my family traditions and Chris's family traditions, which are largely more socially acceptable. Even honorable, I would say. Whereas mine is just ridicule and genitalia. I think it's been another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam. I've got a piddly boner.
I'm Chris, and I'm honest.
I'm Jake, and my dad likes farts.
See you later.
Good night, Eric Pana.
Thank you very much.